What's going on, YouTube? So last year, both Mason and I had the privilege to go to Europe and spend some time with this new Volvo XC90.
And now we're back in the States to test out the latest 2026 example, which is adding some important new dark elements.
So, is this the best XC90 yet? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So like always, let's get things started here with a quick spec dump. So under the hood of this XC90, you've got 3 different power plants you can choose from. This is the B6 model, which is a 2-liter turbocharged and supercharged 4-cylinder engine, making 295 horsepower. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and our combined fuel economy comes in at 23 mpg.
Now the base price for the XC90 is $59,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, later on, we're going to show you the performance of this motor. We'll also be getting things like our signature sound level rating, and at the end discussing resale and reliability.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because some of the key elements we need to discuss for 2026 start here on the outside. So like I was saying, you can see one of these 2026 updates right as soon as you walk up to the vehicle. Now, just speaking in general, this XC90 was heavily refreshed for technically the 2025.5 model year. So that was available in the US market for just a few months. We've already switched over to the 2026. And when you get the 2026, what they have done is added to this new grille. So you've got those diagonal lines that pass in opposite directions. But now, for the first time in many years, you can get the dark theme on the XC90. Previously, you could only get the bright theme, which has a little bit more bling. Now this gives us a little bit more of a sinister characteristic back here on the XC90 again, and that does continue to a few other elements of the outside as well. Now, moving over here to our headlights, of course, as you can see, we've got the latest design for the Volvo brand. We've got that Thor's hammer that passes through there, standard full LED adaptive headlights, which are projectors. And then, of course, as we move around to the back, that typical classy Volvo look does continue.
Absolutely. And what are some of the individual design elements? Well, you'll notice a spoiler right here. We have an exposed wiper. And then as far as our taillights are concerned, you will notice that they have a nice darkened finish. I think that really pops against this white paint color. And as far as the unit itself, it is going to be partially LED. So you have your LED brake light, LED turn signal. However, you still keep the incandescent reverse light. I wish they had updated that to be LED unit. However, as we drop down to the lower fascia, no exposed exhaust outlets, but here on the new dark theme, we have these really cool, nice black accents. I think that really spices up the overall look, and your tow rating comes in at 5,000 pounds.
Moving on to the wheels, of course, when it got updated, we got some brand new designs ranging from 20 to 22-inch alloys. This is kind of a middle option. This is a 21-inch contrast alloy. I really like the way these look with the nice black accents. It certainly matches well with the overall dark theme of this model. You have body color wheel surrounds going on through there. And coming up here to our mirrors, this is a nice gloss black finish with the dark theme, and they're fully loaded with all the features, including blind spot monitoring, auto dimming, and power folding.
Now at the side of the XC90, overall vehicle length is 195 inches. That's a couple inches shorter than the electric EX90 model. And as far as design touches, the dark theme, of course, is going to dark things out. So you have darkened window surrounds as well as a roof rail up at the top. As far as paint color changes for 2026, you have a new Aurora Silver option, which is quite a cool color. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, Volvo is not messing around. You get all of those as standard equipment on the XC90. That will even include things like adaptive cruise control with a highway assist function. But guys, let's go ahead and check out the interior because there's a lot of luxury in there. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now on to the interior. First, here's our key fob, typical Volvo key fob with that square shape. Of course, it's a standard smart entry system as well. And you can just walk up to the vehicle here, grab the handle, that will unlock the door and fold the mirrors outward. And then taking a look at the interior, of course, you're gonna see a pretty updated model, which say just refreshed again in 2025.5 model year. So just a few months ago, we added some important upgrades, and we'll talk about those in a second. But first, of course, we need to talk about the seats. So this model comes standard with quilted Nordico. That's a faux leather. However, if you get the Ultra trim, which is what we have today, this upgrades you to a genuine Nappa leather. So this is a really high-end grade of leather. It's super soft and supple. I love the design of it and the perforation on board. Of course, you've got a lot of adjustments down there at the bottom, including a power thigh extension as well, and memory seats are also included as standard equipment across the entire XC90 lineup. But let's go ahead and climb inside. And then closing up the door, let's get into the rest of the cabin materials. So again, this is another place we saw some upgrades. And you'll see over here on the door trim, you've got the nice leather padding through here and here. Beautiful open pore wood that runs through the center section, and then the leatherette across the upper door trim. That same tailored finish is going across the entire dashboard. They added this textile trim through here to add a little bit of texture to the cabin, and then more of the genuine open pore wood runs through the center section. We even have some padding down here on the bottom, and then some more trim over top of the cup holders. And let's go ahead and fire it up with the twist button start. With the vehicle fired up, let's dig into the individual details. As always, we've got our gauge cluster first up. This is a 12.3-inch full digital gauge cluster. As you can see, it has the ability to put your Google Maps right there in the display itself, and you can reconfigure just a little bit of the overall design. Probably more important to a lot of you guys is that if you get the Ultra trim, that's the top model, that will give you the head-up display. All models get rain-sensing wipers, and as we pull back to the steering wheel, we've got a very nice two-tone design on board. The wheel itself will be heated on the Plus trim and above, and it is manual tilt and telescoping across the lineup. Now, one of the very most important things Volvo did when they refreshed this model was revise this center area to give you more storage. That begins in our center console, which has the ability to store quite a few donuts, 8 to be exact. And of course, we like to do the Car Confections donut test so that we can compare to other models. Now in front of that, our cup holders are underneath of that piece of wood there. And then what this kind of reshuffling has done is given you now the ability to set the wireless phone charging pad up here in the front. So you can just kind of throw your phone up there in a nice little contained cubby. Now, as far as the shifter is concerned, all models now get the crystal shifter. Pull back for drive, push forward, for reverse. And when you go into reverse, the Plus model and above will give you the 360-degree camera system. As you can see, you've got the split view, so you got the regular view on the bottom, the 360 at the top. And then you can click in here and spin around to a few different views throughout the vehicle. Then just press that P there for park. Behind the shifter, you got your electronic parking brake and brake hold. Now, as we move beyond that, we continue to have a physical volume knob for the 3 different audio systems that you can get. We have the middle option, that's the most common one. It's a 14-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, and let's take a sample of that. Very nice. Overall sound quality of this system certainly fills up the cabin nicely. It's a good balanced sound, and I really like those smoked finish for the metal speaker grills. Really looks quite nice. You can, of course, further upgrade to the Bauer & Wilkins sound system if you want to get one of the best audio systems in the entire auto industry. Now, let's get into our display here. So this is the new 11.2-inch display. As you can see, what Volvo has kind of done is bring it out and kind of let it expand out and go a little bit above the dashboard, but it's still a relatively integrated look overall. This is the new software, which is based on an Android system. And before we get into kind of the main infotainment stuff, I want to just go ahead and talk about the climate, which is what we have at the bottom there. When you press that button, that's where you can get into the various different settings. You can also press right there to adjust your temperature. This is a standard 4-zone automatic climate system. And then inside here, you can see we have our controls for our heated steering wheel. Heated seats are standard equipment. Ventilated seats come on just the Ultra model with the Nappa leather seats. Now, as far as that main infotainment system, you can see you've got various different apps located right through there. I already mentioned that Google Maps and other Google things are built into the system itself. You also have the ability of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Just be aware that right now the Android Auto does not work wirelessly. Up top, we've got an auto-dimming mirror with our HomeLink universal remotes. If I swipe back on this touch-sensitive pad, that will slide back the sunshade for our standard panoramic sunroof. As you can see, this is a nice large piece of glass. And one of the things that's nice compared to the electric EX90 is that the front panel still opens up.
So let's go ahead and talk about the rear seat area of the XC90. Now, this is not changed for 2026, and it's always been a nice place to spend time that will continue. So, space first. 37 inches of legroom, 38.5 inches of headroom. Those are pretty good figures. However, it is going to be slightly less than probably its main rival, which would be the Acura MDX. Of course, we brought along the official Car Confections ruler as well, because we want to see how much knee room we have behind Drew's 5'8" driving position. I am 5'9" for reference, and you're sitting at about 8.5 inches. That's a good amount of space. Also, my feet can slide up underneath of the seat. They have plenty of room to move around, and the seats do slide forward and back to customize the amount of space that you have, and they also recline a decent amount, although it's not a ton. Now, you may also be noticing that we have the captain's chair arrangement. This is an optional feature on the XC90. This does mean you only have 6-passenger seating on this model. However, standard is 7-passenger, and you have the bench seat here in the rear. I do like the nice armrest, though, that they're including, and it does also have a pop-out cup holder, so that's a nice feature. Just be aware this is a Swedish-sized cup holder, so big American bottles are not going to fit in there. But thankfully, they have included a nice little cup holder arrangement right down here in the bottom. Now, as far as other features are concerned, we do have our controls for our 4-zone climate. Right here is your heated rear seat button. That's actually standard equipment on every single XC90 for 2026 model year. So they added a few extra standard features to the base core model. Heated back seats, a heated steering wheel, and the headlamp washers are now standard across all XC90 models. And then we have our vents down below. We also have them in the B-pillar. And then 2 charging USB-C ports will round out our features. Now, as far as the door trim itself, nicely done. We have a rear window sunshade here on this nice model. We also do have the open pore wood all through the center section, and down in the bottom we even have a little bit of additional space. Now let's check out the third row. In order to get back here, you just grab this little lever right here that is going to allow you to relatively easily slide the seat out of the way. It is kind of hard to do, and do be aware that the seat back itself does move, so that's not the most convenient for those of you with car seats. Now, as far as the third row itself, though, once I climb back here, this seat is slid all the way back in its tracks, and like I mentioned, I'm 5'9". There's a decent amount of space. It's not the worst third row, but it's also certainly not the best third row that you can get in the segment. We're sitting at about 32 inches of legroom and about 36 inches of headroom. That does mean with the seat slid all the way back, I don't have any additional knee room, but my feet can slide up underneath of the seat. And the seat itself is decently soft, and it also has decent thigh support. Just be aware there's a big gap here, here in the center, and then there's only 2 seats back here. Other things worth noting is that we have a nice little storage cubby right here, a cup holder, and we additionally have rear air vents, which is namely a feature that the Acura MDX does not include. As far as the third row rating, I'm going to say this is fit for the in-laws. Walking up to the tailgate, of course, we do have a hands-free power one. And not sure, I guess it was sensing my presence there. As far as when it opens up, though, we do have a pretty good amount of space, about 10 cubic feet behind the third row of seats. If we fold the third row down, which we can do pretty easily just by grabbing this little lever right here, that's going to give us 35 cubic feet. With all the seats folded down, Volvo says you can expect 85 cubic feet of cargo capacity. If you're curious as to how that compares among its main rivals, like I said, there's Acura MDX, Lexus TX, lots of options. We'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, the reason you do that is because we've gone through the numerous luxury midsize 3 rows out there and ranked them in individual categories that might matter more or less to you. Things like cargo capacity, technology, powertrain choices, interior luxury, resale reliability, safety features. Those are all detailed on our website. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, a couple things worth noting about this. The third row is not power folding. They still have not added that functionality, even though the EX90 has it. It's not on the XC90, so you have to manually do it. And the second row also does not have buttons here in the cargo area, so I'll have to go up there and do it as well. And now that I've got those seats folded down, you'll see that they are completely flat with the loading floor. And then let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. So from behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, you can expect 84 inches of cargo length. From behind the second row of seat, with it slid all the way back, 48 inches. From behind the third row, expect about 22 inches. As far as the opening, that's going to be 44 inches wide. Overall height, that's pretty good, 31 inches tall. And then cargo load-in is going to be sitting at, that's a little tall, 31 inches, but do be aware that you can get a model with an air suspension that could reduce that further down. Underneath of the floor, we will also have a spare tire, which is pretty nice to be included. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Volvo XC90. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading. But first, we need to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, that takes us up to about 60 miles per hour in the B6 XC90. Now, like we were talking about at the spec dump briefly, this is a vehicle. It comes in a variety of powertrains that really vary a lot in terms of power and what they'll be good for, matching with your lifestyle. This is kind of the middle option. I think this is probably the sweet spot. This is what most Americans want. It's the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. This one is turbocharged and supercharged, so it has an E-supercharger. Also has the 48-volt mild hybrid, so there's a lot kind of going on here. Total power, 295 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque. Now, like I was saying, there is a lower option. It's called B5. That drops the supercharger, so that gives you a little bit less power. Yeah, and then there's also a plug-in hybrid at the top.
Yeah, they have a lot of different options for you all, which is good.
Just drove into a thunder shower there. All of a sudden. Anyways, what I was going to say was we've got an 8-speed automatic transmission on board. And it is a nice and smooth transmission.
Yep, and as far as how it's routed to the ground, you do have a standard all-wheel drive. Now that we're just kind of cruising along here on the road, I do want to take a second to discuss ride quality as well. When it comes to the XC90, this has always been a strong area for the model, as you would expect. It does have really good ride quality this year as well. We hit a big bump in the road there, and that very much simulated that this car has great ride quality. Now, a couple things worth noting is that we do have adaptive dampers here on this model today. We also do have the option of getting a full air suspension. We've actually tested out the air suspension before, and I think it's kind of an unnecessary option because the standard suspension setup is so good. The ride quality doesn't really improve much with that air suspension, so I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised here. Also, the seats. I mean, I can't really give enough compliments for Volvo seats, but these seats are fantastic. They really just fit you exactly in the right ways, and they're very comfortable over long distance. All right, we're going to speed up to 55 miles per hour so we can get our sound level reading here. So go ahead and get it. We have it on fan speed 1. Rear climate is off. 55.9 decibels is what we are looking at there for this 2026 Volvo XC90. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to its competition. We can find that at carconfections.com and compared to all the other luxury 3 rows out there. As far as how that compares, it is going to be definitely not the quietest option, but cheers to consistency, right? The 2023 XC90 we tested actually got the exact same sound level reading. So it's going to be a pretty quiet cabin overall, but not quite the quietest option. Let's also discuss fuel economy for the XC90. So for the base model, you're looking at 26 miles per gallon combined. If you want this B6 version, that goes down to 23 mpg combined. And then, of course, the plug-in hybrid variant does have 32 miles of all-electric range. So that's a really good figure if you want the most efficiency. The 23 is not going to be all that impressive, considering that we do have mild hybrid on board, but it is still better than some of the V6 rivals, such as Acura MDX.
Let's talk about today's slam dunk and airball. We're going to start with the slam dunk, and that is the kind of design update that they made for 2026. It's only been, a half model year. It's just been a small handful of months, really, since this got refreshed. And I certainly didn't expect to see a change that would be, meaningful. But I think this is legitimately a meaningful update because, as I mentioned with the outside, the dark theme just was not available for several years on this model. So if you wanted the bigger body of the XC90 and the darker elements, you were kind of out of luck. I definitely like that you have those additional options because this looks quite handsome.
Yeah. Now, on the airball side of things, what really stands out to us is just the family practicality aspect of this vehicle. That's really where I think Volvo really could have improved this model when it came to making it new last year for the 2025 and a half model year. Still things like the third row doesn't even have a strap to pull it up from the cargo area, and it's still a manual folding third row instead of a power folding setup. Things like that just really kind of hinder the overall family usability of this XC90. And let's talk pricing. So, as I said at the very beginning, we start around the $59,000 price point for the base models. Of course, the XC90 does have a pretty big price range depending on what powertrain you select and what options you get, and go almost to about $90,000 fully loaded. Now, we have a more modest equipped model, but we do still have a lot of options. We have the 26 B6 model, ultra dark, 6-passenger, $73,850 is our starting price for that specific combination. $1,295 destination. We also have a few accessories. We're sitting at $76,450 as tested today. Now, if you're looking to buy a Volvo XC90 or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that and our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volvo XC90's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 42.5% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 12.5%. Now, it's worth noting those are definitely going to be on the lower end when it comes to resale value percentages. However, it's very much in line with its European rivals, such as BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources on reliability and combines them in a way that gives you the most holistic picture. In this regard, Volvo is rated below the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability information, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, Volvo has a 4-year, 50,000-mile basic and powertrain warranty, but one nice thing that they do include is 3 years and 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2026 Volvo XC90. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did as we covered some of the 2026 updates, we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.